I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm delighted to welcome my very special friend and colleague, Tom Dukeman, to the show today. Tom, welcome.
Hi, Caroline. Great to be here.
Hey, I'm just so excited that you're here. You and I go way back, and you are the producer extraordinaire of my new audiobook, and I couldn't be more thrilled to showcase you and your expertise on the show today. So I'm going to tell the listening audience about you, and then we're going to dive into a juicy conversation.
Well, thank you very much.
So Tom Dukeman's interest in audio began at an early age when he created comedy skits with friends in the style of National Lampoon, Cheech and Chong, and the Fire Sign Theater. Warms my heart, Tom. We are of a generation.
Yep.
His work at Lotus Tone Productions gave him an excellent opportunity to learn the principles of audio, including music, sound effects, voice, and silence. While at Lotus Tone, Tom wrote and produced hundreds of radio commercials for advertising clients and dozens of long-form spoken word productions for Macmillan Publishing and McGraw-Hill. And after a decade at Lotus Tone, he moved to the fast and furious world of early cable television, producing and writing as many as 5 commercials in a single day. And today, Tom works with a list of long-established clients, creating all forms of audio, including long-form voiceovers for the medical industry, the automotive industry, and government agencies, for example. He writes and produces radio commercials and records audiobooks for authors seeking to turn the printed word into the spoken word. He also works with Audioflix, an audio version of Netflix. So, Tom, let's get to it. You just have some extraordinary experience, but I'd love to know, when you first became interested in audio recording, who inspired you to pursue this as a career?
I spent my first year going to an extension college. I lived up by Chicago in a little area called Merrillville, Indiana. And I went to Purdue Calumet, was an extension college, and I studied electrical engineering for a year. But in the back of my mind, I was still really thinking about the music I loved to write and play, and some of the audio productions you mentioned, the funny stuff that we did when we were in high school. And I decided to take a chance. And my second year there, I decided, I'm going to go into telecommunications, and met a great group, a small studio, access to a lot of things. But it just whetted my appetite. And then I came to Indiana University because they had so many more resources and, of course, thousands of more creative individuals to link up with.
I think your career trajectory actually warms my heart. And as a career development person, I just love digging into people's career history. But you also have this profound love of art, right? And this beautiful connection with old-time radio and specifically the Fire Sign Theater. Do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. I worked with the Fire Sign Theater. Some people will know them, and if they know them, then typically they love them and they know everything about them. So I guess you'd kind of say they have a bit of a cult status, but they were on Columbia Records for a long time and really influenced the culture of the late 60s and early 70s and on and still today. But I just absolutely loved what they were doing. But with the Fire Sign Theater, it was so layered and so deep that you really could listen to their material 100 times and still hear something new. And that's what I loved about it.
So let's talk about why sound is important, because clearly through history, sound has changed, right? How we interact with sound. So why is it important today?
I don't think anyone can imagine going to a movie theater and watching one of these like Marvel adventures. When something explodes, if you're just using some old sound effect you found, it's not going to have the impact if it's a sound that's created the way you think it should sound. And that's I think the real key to it is, and I think many people know this, when somebody gets in a fist fight, you really don't hear all that pop, pop,
yeah,
crack. And there is no sound in space. So when we see spaceships in Star Wars or Star Trek and they make all the rumbling noises, that's what our imagination hears. And so that's always been my goal, is how do I capture the imagination of the sound? That's
I love it.
more important many times than the actual sound itself.
Because it does tell the story.
Yes.
So I love your voice. How did you get into doing voiceover, and why do you love recording?
When I began working at Lodestone Productions, I had the great honor of working with an audio master, Richard Fish, and he taught me so much about what audio can do in terms of audio theater and the spoken word. So working with him, I really gained an appreciation and a lot of knowledge. I guess in a sense, I was a sorcerer's apprentice, as it were.
And Richard is a master. I know him as well. Absolutely. So, Tom, you really opened up a whole new world for me as a published author, giving life to my audiobook. And that was such an incredible experience for me, in great part due to your tremendous engineering and production work, but also your direction. You gave me tremendous vocal direction. So what advice to the authors listening, and I know there are many of them, who are contemplating converting their book into an audiobook?
The beauty of an audiobook is it kind of allows an author the opportunity to vocalize what they are expecting the reader to understand. And so they can really make a direct connection. And if an author is doing it, but they're not a bestseller or something like that, they may do it more for the joy of wanting to hear their book come to life. But for an author who's already established and sold a lot, it's a great way to bring in another revenue stream and reach more people, and then be able to use those segments in a sort of a microsite way.
You know, I would agree. And for the authors listening, I was just blown away about how transformative the audiobook was in my business model. You know, the books sell well, but the reality of our day and age now is that people don't always have the time and the luxury of time to read, but they can listen, and they can listen in their car or on the treadmill or in a break at work. So it has transformed my income stream. And I just want to mention that because that's important for those authors listening and their business model.
Well, and a good portion of people spend a lot of time in their vehicle. They may commute anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And it's a great way for them to enjoy a book in an intimate setting inside their car.
So, Tom, I was honored to be able to work with you and read my own book, narrate my own book. And there was some wisdom in that, not only because I enjoy the voice work, but because as a coach, I wanted to be coaching my audience literally through the audiobook. But what about the authors who are brilliant writers, but a little nervous about doing their own narration and their own voiceover work? How would you coach them as they go through this process?
Well, it can be twofold. For one thing, if they have the ability to overcome stage fright and project and read well, then it's just mainly working with them to understand how audio works. Now, hey, it sounds like we have a friend.
I know. Sorry about that. Live theater. Talk about
That's
live
okay.
radio. Those are my dogs, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what makes it fun. That's what
oh,
makes
my goodness. We're closing the door. Okay.
It's great. Leave it in.
Okay. We may not edit that out. Those are the friends, right?
Right. That's our audience.
Right. Thanks for rolling with it.
But there's also the option of having a reader.
Yes.
Some folks will say, what I write comes from my heart, but I don't have the voice, or I don't have the training to read like that. Although I like when an author, even if they're not a great spoken word person, read something just because I think they interpret it in a different way, and that makes a really direct connection. But I understand that they may not want to do that themselves. So I have a stable of readers who are available, and they're very good. That's another option.
Yeah, which is a great asset. And, depending upon the book and the type of work, there could be multiple voices as well. So that's good to know that you've got a stable of talent. So let's walk the audience through the recording process and how they reach you, Tom, because I know so many authors have contacted me saying, wow, the audiobook, I'm so interested. How do I get started? And that's why I wanted to have you, the expert, tell them.
We'll start with a shameless plug, but TomDukeman.com, very simple, TomDukeman.com. Go to my website and there's contact information there. I think it's really important that people do as much pre-production as possible. And having a conversation with someone like me beforehand helps too, because audio is different. As you came to learn that it's not the same thing as a book. You have to abridge a few things. You don't want to read, every bit perhaps of the foreword or the table of contents. It's just little things like that. That are all part of the process. But once you get the hang of it, it's easy.
I also want to share with another shameless plug, because I just think you're extraordinary, and I wouldn't have worked with you if I didn't. It's incredible to work with someone who has your ears. And you were so helpful to say, you know what, you sound a little tired now after 2 hours of reading, right? Let's take a break, or let's come back tomorrow. And that was essential for me, because you're too close to it when you are the reader. So that was invaluable. Also, you helped me incorporate what I call these conversational bits, right? The little witty banter and the connective tissue that really makes it sound like the listener is just listening to me personally talk to them, right? And I think that can be a different experience and a powerful experience for the listener.
I think that's one of the ways that the audio complements the written word, because the author can really make a connection with the listener.
So, Tom, you and I have the benefit of living in the great college town of Bloomington, Indiana, near Indiana University, and you created an amazing, comfortable and efficient studio space for our work together. But you travel, right? Because you have other clients all over the country. So talk about that.
In fact, I'm leaving this weekend again for another client meeting, and then another week and a half after that. So being able to travel to somebody and be in their environment can often put them at ease. I definitely have items I can take with me to help the recording process. It's interesting that you don't need a gigantic studio anymore, as you saw. You just have to have the right equipment, and you can definitely make it a great recording.
And I was impressed with the space that you created. You know, it was cozy, it was comfortable, it felt good, and you need to feel great about the environment when you're recording. But it was also modest, and it was affordable for me to work with you in this capacity.
I really like it to be conversational. I don't want to be on the other side of a glass window,
right,
pushing a button and saying, "Are you ready for the next take?" And the person's in there and the giant headphones on, and they start to freak out.
That authenticity helped me as the reader. I knew you had my back. So walk the listeners through a typical time to record a book, and this was a new experience for me, and you were very adept at projecting how long it would take due to the pagination of my book, right? That was extremely helpful.
I would say it's at least a good 40-hour week.
Yeah.
For somebody to put aside and to just do the reading part of it. You remember what your final count was on time? Was it like
it was a little over 10 hours of listening time. Yeah.
But again, once you get in the rhythm, it goes pretty quickly, I think.
It does. And it was it was a fun experience. I want to share that too. I found it a joyful experience, and certainly the end product was worth the time and the energy and the opportunity to do it. So I want to share, and I'd love for you to embellish on this, Tom, that the revenue generated from the audiobook has more than paid for what you and I contracted to produce this. And, without going into great detail, my audiobook has really only been on the market for a few months. So that was a fast turnaround.
It's an investment, but at the return on the investment, especially if you're already an established author, is going to be really quick. And it gives you a whole other vehicle to be out there and reaching people. It can definitely be helpful, I would think, for people who do speaking engagements. I haven't looked at your page to see how many copies you've sold or anything like that, but I'm glad to hear that it's doing well.
It is. And I'm just thrilled to give my audience another version of the book, right? So again, great for those busy people that don't have time to sit down with a hard copy book. So Tom, let's segue a little bit into Audioflix. I'm really eager to hear more. This is the audio version of Netflix. So tell me more.
Like Netflix, there's thousands, literally, of titles of great audio productions, everything from old-time vintage radio shows to the new stuff that'll blow your mind with just fantastic soundscapes and great adventures. And with a society that is on the go, whether they've got, they're plugged into their iPods or their phones, they're in the car driving. We're bringing entertainment to them as opposed to them having to go to a place, their couch or a movie theater, and sit there and fully engage. They can actually do other things. You can do things around the home, and in your mind, while you're working, getting things done, you're having a wonderful adventure. So
exactly.
And it's just taking off. It's going gangbusters. Go to the website now. It's audioflix.com. Check it out. But once the big push hits, and it's going to hit, and it's going to hit. It's coming. We're just trying to do it right.
That's exciting.
Then I just think it's going to be something to behold.
Good stuff. Well, that's exciting. And congratulations for being in on the ground floor. Hey, I want to mention, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a great platform that you and I used. And I did a lot of research, and you were very helpful in guiding me. I ended up sharing my book on the platform Audible, which is part of the Amazon overall comprehensive platform. So anyone that wants to buy my book or others through audio version can buy it on Audible. And it's also on iTunes. Are there other platforms that authors should be aware of, Tom?
Well, there are other platforms. I think that those are probably, in my opinion, for this type of product, the best. I think, you picked the right one with Audible. I was very impressed with the process, and you have to jump through some hoops. It's not something I think that authors would necessarily want to have to do all of the work on, but that's why I'm here.
That's exactly why you're here, and that's a great way to remind the audience that, I brought the content to the table, you helped me produce and engineer it and handled the technical aspects. So my job was very easy because you did all the heavy lifting, and I'm truly, truly grateful. So Tom, let's circle back and remind everybody how they can reach you. Would you tell us again your website and your email if you're willing, so people can contact you directly?
Sure. It's tomdukeman.com, and the email is tomdukeman@gmail.com.
Excellent. Tom, what a joy to have you on. Again, thank you for everything you've done for me in my audiobook. I am a champion of yours and thrilled to be able to spend this time with you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning into Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.